tear it up, as they would say, as the young kids would say.
Rip and tear.
Yeah, so it is pretty hard still tearing it up, even though it's been cooking for about 8 hours. But I think. Hello, I'm Bobby Flay, and this is my backyard. Today we'll be making lamb shoulder in a Texas-style barbecue for Orient Express, so stay tuned. I've already put the water in the pan, and I've already got the charcoal going. So the trick is to retain your heat. Only open this the first time. When you're putting that first top layer of charcoal, that's ready to go. So here we are. We've got 2 lamb shoulders that we got from Woolworths. The fat doesn't require that much trimming. I think the butcher's done most of the work. We put the brisket rub on one from Christmas time, and we just put salt and pepper on the second one. We use coarse pepper and fine ground pepper, and we use Himalayan salt and smoked salt. So I'm just going to put both on the barbecue. And the temperature is up at 100 degrees. The trick of cooking is this one that's got the rub on it. It's got sugar. The sugar will caramelize and burn. So you want to put it furthest away from the heat. And this one doesn't have any sugar in the rub, it's just salt and pepper. 2 different types of salt, 2 different types of pepper. And it won't burn as much. And that's what happened with the brisket. With the brisket, we ended up overcooking one of the 3 because both rubs had sugar in them, but one had more than the other. And I think even the control brisket's rub had sugar in it as well. But I think between the combination of using a mustard and the rub, you have to be very careful. So these didn't require any sort of adhesion because the lamb is quite fat. And we put those rubs on last night, and you saw that it's still stuck because the actual texture of the meat and the fat in lamb is quite sticky compared to beef. So putting oil on lamb is completely unnecessary, but for beef I highly recommend using some sort of oil. If you can't afford olive oil, even just vegetable oil as an adhesive compared to mustard. Mustard's fine, but my theory is between the mustard and the sugar and the rub, it's too much adhesive, too much insulation and can overcook your meat. So that's pretty much it. We're just going to stoke this fire soon and talk about fire management, but before that, we probably should talk about smoke. At the moment, I'm getting the optimal smoke that you would want. It's called a blue smoke. You can barely see it. I prefer to call it naked smoke because I'm kinky. But the worst smoke you could want is black smoke. So try to use proper charcoal and try not to use heat beads, because if you use heat beads, they are artificial, and they will give you that black smoke, and then you'll have to wait until that black smoke is gone before you can actually put your meat on, so you don't contaminate your meat, which might be poisonous. And white smoke is neither here nor there. It's neither good or bad. It's just basically useless. So try for that blue naked smoke, and the only time you will get that blue naked smoke is as your coal is basically maturing to the point where your charcoal is maturing to the point where it's starting to fade out, and then you'll just have to keep on topping it up. But that's when you'll sort of experience that blue smoke. Alright, well we'll come back and talk about fire management and how to best stoke the fire without losing heat. See you soon. Alright, so let's talk about fire management, but before we do that, let's just talk about your fuel. So essentially, what I've gotten this time with this product, char grillers, lump wood charcoal. This costs twice as much as that jump up charcoal did, but I've used this before when I made my first brisket on a Weber kettle. barbecue, and the wood actually maintained, or the charcoal maintained its heat, because we had to keep on opening up the top of that kettle to stoke the charcoal, and yet the brisket came out perfect. So I'm not saying this is a competition grade charcoal. You can actually get competition grade charcoals from Bunnings as well, which are $10 more expensive than this. And then I've got a friend of mine who I grew up with. He owns a business in town called Chef's Choice Charcoal, and he's promised to give me a sample to try out of his. And then I've got some other friends of mine near Warwick who have another company that doesn't actually do charcoal, they do wood, and they're called Cedar Getters. So 2 free plugins there, fellas. So the point I'm making though is, when you watch them do it in America, they don't actually use charcoal, they use real wood. And then I talked to the guy at Bunnings, and I talked to my neighbour, and my neighbour said he was going to give me red gum next time I did a brisket. And the guy at Bunnings though said that if you use anything of that, it'll give you too much ash. So serendipitously enough, we were fishing at a lake last week, and a guy was starting a campfire, and I talked to him about it, and he said if it's a softwood, yeah. If you use a softwood, which is mostly for smoking, like applewood or something of that nature, it will create too much ash, and even if you're indirect grilling it, the ash might go into your meat. But if you're using hardwood like red gum, you're probably going to be fine, and it's just going to burn in this little compartment here, and the ash is not going to make it to your meat. So what we'll do is we'll get some hardwood and experiment on a pizza first. So if we ruin a pizza, it's not such a big deal before ruining a brisket. So let's just talk about fire management, because last time when we made that brisket, we just kept on stacking it on top of each other and opening up this top bit here and losing the heat, which defeated the purpose of stoking more charcoal and lighting it up in the fire. So keep that closed at all times. Open up this little side door, be careful because it'll be hot. And when you open up that little side door, just do what you do with Jenga. So put one on this side of the charcoal, one on that side of the charcoal. And as that breaks down, in the next hour or so, you put 2 more pieces like Jenga on top of that, but in the opposite direction. So the first 2 pieces you put like this, and then the next 2 you put like that, and then the following, and you get Jenga, like they say in Paul, the movie. So that's pretty much it. Temperature is really good. It's 100 degrees Celsius at the moment, which is better than outside. It's the middle of, freaking winter here in the southern hemisphere, and it's only 12 degrees Celsius, and I'm just wearing a shirt. So I'll keep myself warm by this fire. We'll come back to you soon. Thank you. So we started this thing around 8:30, the charcoal that we put in that kettle, and then we added 2 more pieces around 9:30, and then when it came to around to 11 o'clock, we added 2 more pieces that way, because the other previous pieces were that way, so we put 2 more on top like Jenga, like so. But I was just talking to my neighbour, and he's generously donated this red gum, which is a hardwood, but he wants me to keep that for the brisket. So I got a small piece of it here, of that red gum, and I got some kindling. So I'm just going to stoke the fire a little bit at 11 o'clock to see if it needs anything more. I'm going to put that on top of the kindling. So let's put the kindling in first, like so. Now light up like a Christmas tree. And then I'm going to try this red gum. Small piece first, because some people say it might turn into ash and go in your meat. So start with a small piece first, see how you go. Add that on top there. And here we got some hickory. So this hickory is for flavoring. You don't really have to put it on the lamb, but I'm gonna. So I'll put that in too. And that will stoke the fire and make it go up to 120, 130 degrees centigrade. So in about less than an hour, about 45 minutes, I'm going to see what the meat's going to be doing, and then wrap it up in some butcher's paper And the reason we're using butcher's paper instead of foil like last time for the brisket was, A, I think the mustard was like a insulation, overcooked the brisket. B, I think the rub that had the sugar in it overcooked the brisket. Not all of them. 1 out of the 3 briskets came out slightly overcooked. And finally, I think then packaging it all up in the foil tends to increase that internal temperature as well, because it's still cooking in the foil. Like when you make filet mignon, there's the American way of doing it, putting it in the frying pan and then putting it in the oven to finish it off. Or doing it the French way, which I've done once, and that's basically just grilling the sides of the steak, getting that crust, and then putting it on a plate and putting the foil on top of the pan, covered it in that foil on the plate. The filet mignon cooks internally even more so, and that's what happened to the brisket, which is why we're going to be using the butcher's paper. And then there's a bit of an anecdote about that butcher's paper, but I'll tell you when we start using it in about 45 minutes. So I'll see you then. Thank you. Alright, so as you can see, we're getting some smoke out of this ever since I put that kindling wood, that red gum, and that hickory in there. So at the moment, you're probably getting white smoke. So white smoke is neither here nor there. It's neither good nor bad, it's just useless. I mean, I don't know how much flavor that white smoke is going to give you, but as soon as that kindling wood, that red gum, and that hickory wood starts to burn out, that white smoke will turn into a blue smoke, which I call a naked smoke. And you can barely see it. That's why I call it naked smoke, not because I'm kinky or anything. And that's the optimal smoke you want, that blue smoke, the flavoring of your meat. This white smoke isn't going to taint the flavor of the meat as much as what people think. It's more of a benign smoke to a degree. But if you get black smoke, take your meat out of the barbecue, because that black smoke, usually if you're using heat beads, not from not from wood charcoal, but from heat beads, can be poisonous, and you don't want to contaminate your meat. So if you're seeing black smoke coming out of your barbecue, take your meat away from it. So this white smoke will just keep on going for about, I would say, 30 minutes until that little wood burns. And like I said, that red gum was that size, and that hickory was that size, and the kindling was that size, the hickory was that size, and the red gum was probably about that size. And yet that's how much smoke we're getting out of it. And that'll keep going until that burns out, probably in about 20 to 30 minutes, and then you'll get that blue smoke, and we'll show you what that looks like. You guys may or may not be able to see that, but that is now the transformation of that white smoke as that wood is dissipating into the blue smoke. So it's more seen on the naked eye than the camera. And I'm not using a 4K camera this time because there's less people in the crew. So I can see that with my naked eye, even with the sunglasses on. But you may not, but the blue smoke is definitely there. So I guess you'll just have to take my word for it. Alright, so it's the big reveal. It's been like, I think, 3.5 hours that we've been stoking the fire and cooking this thing. So I'm going to open up the lid, see what the meat looks like. And it is cooked, but I think I'll probably need another couple of hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the butcher's paper and see how it turns out. I'm going to lift out that big, use this serrated edge. Maybe put that there for now. Put the actual butcher's paper here on the table. And take one of these lambs and put it on one side of the butcher's paper and go about wrapping it to the best of my ability.
Don't drop it.
So a funny story about this butcher's paper, the anecdote that I was going to tell you guys about. I went to Woolworths, couldn't find it. I went to the butcher's, next to Woolworths, and that had some butcher's paper, but it wasn't really good quality and it was not this wide. And ultimately, what happened was I bumped into my friend Jim, who's a chef, and he said, "Just go to Bunnings and get the butcher's paper there." So it was really good that I bumped into him at the butcher's, where they had butcher's paper, but not really good quality. Whoa, that got hot. So I'm going to start that fire again. This wind's not helping. Put the heat this time so I don't burn myself. But I need those tongs. There's the other lamb shoulder. Those tongs back in there. And basically fold that lamb shoulder like that. And this is a better option than foil. Close that up. We've lost 50% of our heat. We've lost 50% of our heat. So now what I'm going to have to do is stoke the fire some more. So what we're going to do now, because we lost like 50% of our heat, we'll need to stoke that charcoal to the best of our ability. I'm going to get a few small pieces again. Open up that side door. And put a piece of charcoal in like that. Put another piece in like that. Put another piece in like that. And want the back, and that's like Jenga. So we got some kindling here too. I'm not going to smoke into the wood. Some more kindling that my neighbor gave me. So I'm going to break this kindling. Put that with it to stoke the actual new charcoal as well. And it's 12 o'clock, leave that for another 2 hours. See what happens to that butcher's paper, which we're using for the first time because last time we was foiling the brisket and it's slightly overcooked the brisket. So I'll see you guys in 2 hours where we do the unveil inside. We probably won't be filming out there anymore, so enjoy the vista and I'll see you back inside the house. Thank you. Alright, so we've got it here from the barbecue, and the only reason I did this lamb shoulder is because we bought these Wolverine claws a long time ago and I actually wanted to put them to use. And we don't eat pork shoulder, so we eat lamb. So the moment of truth. This is actually very, very hot, but that doesn't mind me because I've got no nerves on my fingers. So as you can see, this thing has come out really well, and I'm touching that bone and it's hot, but like I said, it doesn't hurt me. I wonder if you could just pull that bone out. If not, it's okay. I'm going to put it here. You can discard this butcher's paper, which worked out pretty well. And now, use my Wolverine claws and tear it up, as I would say, as the young kids would say.
Rip and tear.
Yeah, so it is pretty hard still tearing it up, even though this has been cooking for about 8 hours. But I think the question is probably because of the fat. And with the Doesn't seem to be much meat on it per se, but we do have another one that we can try as well.
Wait, which one is this?
I think this is just the one that had the salt and pepper on it.
Oh.
I'm actually crippled in my right hand, so I'm probably not the best person to do this. But and the reason we chose this cut is because everyone's having a hard time financially. So I forget, I do lamb shoulder instead of lamb leg. We do have a lamb leg in the freezer, but I think we'll keep that for the oven. Alright, so you can put this into a Cuban sandwich. You can put this into a taco. You can put this in like a Lebanese bread and turn it to a doner kebab or a shawarma. And or you can have it as is. So this is it pretty much. Barbecue lamb shoulder on a Texas style barbecue. We'll probably do more stuff indoors because it's another month of winter. I thought I'd do this one out in the weather. And stay tuned. We'll get on to that Lancashire hot pot that I've been promising you. So please like, share and subscribe and press that bell notification. And this is Orient Express signing off. See you next time.